Thunderstash. We're going with your topic here. What are we talking about?
Okay. So obviously, a lot of people in the gaming community thought that it was probably going to get announced by today. Is that correct? Did everyone feel like it was going to be
announced?
I was thinking like by the end of the week, but a lot of people were like, oh, the Switch, Nintendo, they're known for doing it around this time frame. But I was thinking like at the end of the week.
Right. And I think we all kind of feel like September, right? Because this month was cleared up, so to speak, for the Switch 2 to be rolled out, had the red carpet out for it. And it still can. I mean, it's the 18th. Yeah. We still have plenty of time. It can still be revealed before Tokyo Game Show.
Right. Keep giving me the hope, baby. Keep it up. Yeah. I don't want to do the hot chip. Let's go.
Well,
there's still a third of the month left.
I've mentioned it before, and you got to wonder, like, again, if this was internally delayed, which I've said it before, I 100% believe it was internally delayed. I believe that rumor. It should have came out this year. I don't think they planned for it to come out 8 years later, right? So if it was internally delayed, I think you got to factor all of that in. And if Nintendo wanted to like get on the good side of the third parties that are going to be at Tokyo Game Show, it would be a benefit for the Switch 2 to be shown prior to TGS. So all of these developers can show off their games. And you also have to look at it from the shareholder point of view in that these companies are publicly traded. And if they've been working on a Switch game, Switch 2 for maybe 2 years, let's just say hypothetically 2 years, 18 months, whatever it is, and they can't show anything or say anything, and shareholders like, what are you guys working on? Like, you haven't released anything in a long time. Like, we're thinking about pulling some of our money out of there, and we see that happen all the time. Look at Ubisoft, prime example. They are suffering majorly right now in the stock market.
As they should.
Yeah. Well, the thing is you don't want that to happen, right? On Nintendo's own accord, because that would kind of be like their fault because it was internally delayed. Like it can be looked at that way. And that's not good for a relationship, for a business relationship where, you have something like the Switch that is going to break the console sales. Like I think it's definitely going to surpass PS2. I'm sure a lot of us are on the same page there. So you don't want to go from like the best selling console of all time to then, hey, we're having a really hard time even transitioning to Switch 2 to announcing it. So it would be doing them a solid there is my point. And I think it would go a long way. Now, if it doesn't happen before Tokyo Game Show, I've had a date circled in my mind for a while that I'll bring up. And, there is layers to this that I want everyone to understand. And the reason why is because I think there are a few things that are missing in this story that not a lot of people, I wouldn't say are talking about, but they might not know about. And so this all goes back to the museum. Nintendo Museum opens up in March. This was originally supposed to open earlier. Earlier than March. So it was supposed to open this March. It was delayed to October 2nd. But there was another delay too. So this was actually supposed to open in 2023. So then it was delayed to March of this year. Now, March of this year, 6 months later, where would that put us? To where we are today, right? September. Which would probably be a good time to launch a console if you're going to launch it in the fall. It's actually been a pretty popular time that Nintendo's launched consoles before. So then you look at it that way. And now that it's been delayed, the actual opening of the museum to October 2nd, what is 6 months later? March 2025.
March.
When's Switch 2 supposed to come out? March.
Yep.
It's 6 months later. It's a 6 month build up. When did Switch 1 come out? March.
March.
Okay. So they said that, and I don't buy this, and I want to tell you guys why, but they said that the museum was supposed to open in March, but it was delayed due to some kind of getting some sort of building code approved. And let me just say this. When I see bullshit, I always call it out. I can see it a mile away. This feels like bullshit. Guys, Nintendo is the biggest, most respected company in Japan. They are the crown jewel of Japan. If they need something done, they need something approved, it's getting approved the same day. They're not going to have to wait a half a year to get a museum approved. Like when you step off the airplane in Japan, you're greeted by Mario.
They're part of the Yakuza.
Yeah, there's warp pipes in the actual no, like for real, they have warp pipes at the airport there. It's all over. Like you're greeted everywhere by Mario. So we all know Mario's the biggest thing in Japan. So if they need something done, it's going to get done. So I think this was total BS. And then you got to factor in that this building has a lot of history. This was Nintendo's building that they used to like manufacture the playing cards. And it was the same building they used to build and repair consoles. And they had the building in their name, I think, since 1969. And so they closed it down. I was looking this up. I was actually on a Japanese travel website reading up on some information about it. And it closed down in 2021. So they've been working on the museum for quite a few years, actually. And so take all that for what it is, and then also factor in that when we saw the museum direct, did we not all see the same thing? Like, did we not see open spots for consoles for a console, for one console? Let me say a Switch 2, basically.
Even a whole row behind the Switch without something hanging above it.
Yeah. Now let me ask you guys this: if they have something right there, like a big console for the museum, and they're covering it up with, say, like a cloth or something like that, don't you think they're going to want to have that revealed before they open the museum? Do you really want to run the risk of someone trying to pull that cloth off and expose the Switch too? It just all adds up. And what better way to do your grand opening? Like, it's a really big deal to have a museum for your company. You know what I mean? Like, what better way than to introduce the Switch 2? And I could see Nintendo doing future stuff there as well, future announcements. Because, again, there's a lot of history in that building. So that's what I'm going with. If we don't see it in September, I kind of putting my money on October 1st. What do you guys think? Tucker, what do you got?
That's a really interesting theory in terms of how things line up and how Nintendo has been positioning, I think, a lot of their initiatives in the last couple of years to line up. They're trying to get the movies to synergize with the games, and now the museum is in the mix, and the theme park. And so I do think that tying them together actually would make sense and drum up hype for all of it, because yeah, it's a big deal that Nintendo now has their own museum with this history and all of that. But if you coincide it with something that is frankly a more publicly available, bigger deal, that being the reveal of the system, or at least some news about it, I could even foresee them using this as a location to film Nintendo Directs in the future, or to do, if they do sort of what they did with Switch, like a investor presentation. This still wouldn't be live like it was in 2017, but they could do something like that at the Nintendo Museum, use the backdrop, maybe cut around to different parts of the museum that are kind of relevant to whatever they're currently talking about. And so I think it's a phenomenal idea. And I don't think that, to me, I don't think it makes sense necessarily to have the opening of the museum and the system reveal coinciding exactly with one another, but I do think around the same time makes sense. Because if they're announcing the system, even if it's just a short trailer, you're not going to have enough stuff, box art, information, sales numbers, peripherals. They're not going to have enough stuff to display. Like, you're right. They have an empty space. Of course, they know they're making another system, but they're not going to have enough stuff that they've revealed to fill an entire display. It would just kind of probably be the system in a picture, maybe a little bit bigger, or one of the games, a video, I don't know. But I do think that the idea of the synergy is what you've really sparked in me. I think that makes sense. But I'm not sure if I necessarily agree that it would be like an exact coinciding thing, just given that I don't think we're going to, even if we do see the system, hear news about it, I don't think we're getting a blowout anytime near October.
I don't either. Does anyone think we're getting a blowout?
No.
I think we're going to have the initial reveal, and then we're going to have a later date, which will probably be, I think, in January. Would make a lot of sense.
Just like the original Switch.
Yeah, I think
just like the
something
original.
after Zelda drops is what I was thinking. Something
Right.
after Zelda drops, that time period.
I think it's going to be a bigger blowout than people give it credit for. Now, I don't think it's going to be like the big, when they go on stage for an hour and a half and go over every little specific thing and show off like a 1-2 switch style game. I don't think it's going to be like that, although I think there will be some sort of game that shows off a new feature at launch. But I do think it's going to be like that. You think about it, like the Switch trailer was really beefy, right? It was like a 4-minute reveal trailer. It was very long and it showed everything they needed to show. But
a lot of details for them to go over.
But they were trying to sell the concept of the Switch. No, they don't need to sell the concept anymore. If this is what it appears to be when we get into the leaks later, where it's literally an iterative system, which could be brilliant and sell 200 million systems with the way that this game industry is going right now. Nintendo's like in a very perfect position. I'm not saying it's going to actually sell 200 million, but I've seen that opinion thrown out there that it's kind of like Nintendo kind of is in a perfect spot to do something iterative and dominate. But what's fascinating to me is you look at, I guess I'm using that word fascinating. I use it too much. Sorry, it's a mental note to myself. I've been trying not to use that word so much. But I look at what they have to do with this. They don't have to sell the concept anymore. They have to sell why you need to upgrade.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I kind of feel like this initial showing could end up being like a 10 to 12 minute thing, not a massive blowout, but they could actually want to show a lot of different things to explain why. Like, you know how they show iPhone every year. Yeah, it's iterative, but they try really hard to explain why you need to get this one, even though like this year, it's really why you need to get iOS 18, not why you need to get a new phone. But unless you're still stuck like me on Lightning and you want to go get the USB-C, I guess.
14. Yeah.
Honestly, what I think they're gonna do when it comes to like, the initial reveal versus like what they could do later, like a keynote or anything like that, especially when considering what they've done with the original Switch. I definitely get what you're saying with like, oh, they don't have to do the concept anymore. That's a 100% true. It's just like, okay, there's the Switch 2. What can it do beyond that of the regular Switch?
Yeah,
I feel like an initial reveal is going to be very comparable to that of the original reveal with the Switch, but instead of focusing so much on the concept of like, oh, it's on the go, it's a console, you could take the Joy-Cons out, it'll like showcase aspects of games that maybe we didn't even like would fathom could run on this thing in handheld mode, or possibly that on docked mode. But they're going to go a lot with show, don't tell in this original trailer, that I feel, and that a lot of what they show in the trailer beyond that of its like capabilities as a console, like, okay, yeah, you can take the Joy-Cons off, they're magnetic now. They're going to be showcasing games that are like, whoa, that on Nintendo Switch, games possibly like maybe 5 out of 7 Remake and Rebirth, Devil May Cry 5, games
Call
that
of Duty.
You would think that Call of Duty, especially since they've been talking about that not too long ago. So they're gonna be that is gonna be like, when compared to the entire trailer, are gonna be footnotes, but Nintendo's gonna position them those games in a sense that people are like, they only gonna show them off so much to know that people know that, like, hey, look, Elden Ring. People are going to be talking about that. That's going to be a big chunk, a significant chunk of the conversation that's going to be had up until Nintendo decides to show off more and talk about more. And then when the keynote happens, which is like, it could be the month afterwards or a couple months afterwards, where they actually sit people down or sit the crowd down in, whatever location, Nintendo Museum, over back at the Tokyo Metropolitan area, whatever. They're going to say, okay, so this is the system. This is what magnetic Joy-Cons, this amount of RAM, blah, blah. They're going to gloss over all of that stuff up until the keynote during or after the initial reveal trailer, right? Because people are going to be constantly talking about, it's like, how's this, like, at least it's up. people are like, oh, Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition, 60 frames on the go and on the Switch. How are they going to be doing that? Tech enthusiasts are going to be talking about, oh, maybe the combination of DLSS with the amount of RAM that's going to be present due to leaks. That amount of conversation is going to carry this all the way to the keynote where Nintendo decides to finally talk and dive directly into, what is being provided out of the box for the Switch 2, along with the release date and then price, right? Nintendo's done that before with the Switch. It's worked out incredibly well for them, and I feel that that's going to be their strategy for Switch 2, but focusing more on the look, big games. How we in those games, you'll have to wait and see. And then that conversation is literally going to be their chariot into a bigger presentation. That's what I'm thinking.
I think there'll be an emphasis on third parties. I just want to toss this one point in, and then you can go, Chris. I think while there's going to be an emphasis on third-party games, I do think that there'll be emphasis on one particular thing from Nintendo. They're going to show something that's from this generation that is updated and upgraded on Switch 2 to just show the leap in power between the two systems.
I think the leap is going to be saved for the keynote. Someone tells me that this is Breath of the Wild running on Switch 2 as they're presenting, and then Breath of the Wild is just like, "Whoa!" I think they're gonna save that. I think they're gonna save that.
I think what they would save is the idea of announcing that there'll be upgrades to Switch game. I think they'll save that for the big reveal. There'll be one game. It might not even be a first party game. They could show The Witcher 3 just running significantly better.
Right.
They don't even have to show anything. Just show The Witcher 3 running on it.
Yeah.
Look at the Nintendo Switch footage and be like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
And
that's an easy one to do that comparison for.
Yeah, huge. Chris, what do you think?
I'm on Team October since a long time ago. I think that they showed last time that people can announce games even if they have not announced the console itself. So we already know it exists, right? So Nintendo has said, yeah, this is going to happen. They haven't mentioned what it is, but I think people can already announce games. So I don't think TGS is really a consideration for them right now. So I'm firmly on Team October. They're going to repeat the same thing again as they did 8 years ago. But I think they have an easier time if it's just the same thing, the same concept. They can just show it. Okay, it's another tablet and you can put it on your TV. That's fine. But I think they got to focus on the games. And overall, it should be pretty easy. Show Mario, show next 3D Mario, and people are in. And then show a couple of third parties. I mean, personally, I would love if they show something Final Fantasy VII Remake or even Rebirth there. And that would get people going. That would show what it can do. And it would be something that people are excited about. Besides that, I think pricing, it should be a good move if they showed pricing right away because they have it easy. I mean, PlayStation put it in us to choose it right now. So I think they have that pretty easy. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
After
I think
what Sony
the
did,
first reveal is going to be focused on games.
Yeah. And drop the price in. Just do it, Nintendo.
I like that.
Win the day if you drop the price.
People are gonna dangle the potential price over us for months. I watch how much.
I don't know. I feel like there's so much scrutiny with the PS5 Pro price. They're gonna be like, "All right, $400, and we can do all of this."
It's so easy for them to do this, but I think they're gonna wait. It could be a coin toss. It could be either way, but it's right. Yeah, it's so easy right now.
What if there's a caveat? There's multiple versions, and they only just announce the price of the cheapest version.
They usually don't sell at a loss, so that's one thing to kind of think about.
Did you guys see Jeff Keighley retweet the old video from E3 2006?
Reggie?
Reggie.
So Jeff's 18 years old, and he asked Reggie, this is about basically, were you worried about the PlayStation 3 being announced and the pricing? And he's like, candidly, no, we weren't worried. And then he goes into his little spiel, but this was when PlayStation, this is the classic E3 when they held it up. Was it Kaz Hirashi?
Kazurai.
Yeah. $599. So
and
yeah,
the world was
kind of like the same thing now, right? with the PS5 Pro. Like it feels like he posted that for a reason because it feels eerily similar. Especially if Switch 2 is announced and it's 400, like we're expecting.
You're forgetting the best part of that Reggie line, man. The dude when he said that he felt that Sony left the door open and he's going to drive a truck through it.
Yeah, Mac truck.
Wild.
He was savage. He's like, the door. We're going to drive a truck right through it. I'm like, and he was.
I think it's going to be the same thing again.
I do too. Chris, I just want to say I agree with you on the Final Fantasy VII remake. I'm fully expecting that. Obviously, I think we all know and probably read about Square. And Square Enix has been saying this for a while. We all know this, that for some reason they seem to not hit any of their sales goals. Or they're just internally very disappointed with their sales figures. So it's like, hey, bring it to Switch too, man. And that'll solve your problems right there. But yeah, I'm expecting that. I'm expecting some big heavy hitter third parties. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, Nick, what do you think? Where are you at on this?
I think it could really be announced at any point. I'm on my hopium of like, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and as I walk into work, they're just going to be like, bang, here's the Switch 2. Here's the little overview trailer of what it is. That would be great. It would really catch people off guard because like they didn't say anything today and everyone's like, all right, well, pack it up. It's October. And I'm like, we're only halfway through September. There's still plenty of time. Like, where it's not over. It ain't over till it's over. But I do think one thing they really should focus on, because I talked to my coworkers about this today because I saw the leaks and stuff, is why people need to buy this Switch as opposed to just keeping their old one. And I think a really great way to do that is to show off the games and be like, hey, here's Final Fantasy. Here's maybe we get Halo on there. Here's Genshin Impact,
Halo
which was
Reach.
supposed to be on Switch, but they didn't have enough power. So here's that game, which is massive. Here's Persona 3 Reload that's only on Xbox and PlayStation. Like you can bring in those games for the price point of, hey, $400, you can play all these great games plus the Nintendo games. Because something we talked about was Nintendo, I guess, is not competing with the PlayStation right now because they don't have the power. And another thing one of my coworkers brought up was like, well, I was hoping that like, because we looked at the CAD, the CAD designs or whatever, and he was like, well, it doesn't like, it just looks like another Switch. Like, it's just
I had
Switch.
friends
like,
come up to me today
different.
and say that exact thing. Like, what's the difference? I'm like, okay, if you look at the pictures and there's like the two next to each other, you can tell it's a little bit bigger, but it is obviously very, very similar.
Yeah, they didn't switch many things around.
No, they didn't.
For the most
that
part.
was my thought.
Yeah, and it's like he likened it to, oh, the PS3 looks different from the PS4, which looks different from the PS5, and I'm like, yeah, but Nintendo's been dominating the market with the Switch. So if you have a winning strategy, you don't really need to change it that much. Just make it a little more powerful because that's what people want.
Yeah.
Put more third-party games on it.
Yep.
Mark it up $100 or $50, I guess, from the OLED at $400. Bang.
Right.
You're good. You're
And
set.
The fans aren't asking for some crazy innovation. You know what I mean? And I know that's usually what Nintendo gives us, but we're really not asking for that. And I feel like in this generation, with the modern age of social media where everyone talks about video games openly and candidly, I think it's been really clear probably for Nintendo that, hey, we don't need a crazy innovation. It's about what's on the inside that counts. We want more power, more RAM.
So sweet.
But really, we want all that. And guess what else? You don't need to name it anything crazy. We've already been calling it the Switch 2. Everyone has. And I think they looked at that stuff. I really think that they aggregated a lot of the social media posts and found out that, hey, based on what all of our fans are saying, we should call it the Switch 2 and just make it really powerful. Let's try this.
I've also seen so many people on the internet being like, is it really going to be called Switch 2? That's such a boring name. Like, that's not Nintendo. And I'm like, guys,
you know what happened when
we've
they try to
been
not be
calling it
boring?
Switch 2 for the last, 3 years.
I've seen a little bit of that too. Not a lot. But
Now there's
Yeah,
a switch
a
up
bunch.
because it's legit.
You know what? You know what's also a really boring name? The Nintendo Switch OLED. Oh wait, they did that anyways. They literally used a piece of tech in the console name. It's almost like Furukawa was like, you know what? Maybe these creative we talk about falling off the cliff. Maybe we don't need to put like new on things or XL or you know
it's not particularly
go
creative.
with super or advanced. How about we
GameCube.
just, like, tell people what it is?
Mm-hmm.
It is a Nintendo Switch with an OLED.
You gotta be cut and clear with these people.
Another Nintendo Switch, but it's the new generation, so it's the second. Nintendo Switch. That's Switch 2. Oh man.
People couldn't figure out that the Wii U was the next Wii and then see what happened.
Something I just thought about. Do we think that we'll get another like Switch Lite, but Switch Lite 2? Do you think that's gonna happen?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
You guys
It's too light. Yeah.
You guys remember the
100%.
rumors?
Why wouldn't it? Easy
Yeah,
money.
you remember the rumors of the micro Switch that went around there for a second?
I do.
yeah.
Micro.
Mm-hmm.
I remember.
I just thought about that. But
Why wouldn't you?
yeah,
Let me
that's
ask
kind of
that. Why wouldn't we? Look at the sales numbers. Look at how many Switch Lights have been sold. There's a market for it.
It's
Yeah,
a
there
cheap
is,
option for
definitely.
kids. One of my kids has it. My youngest, like
Yeah.
Same.
it's good. Game Junction. What are you thinking on? Like, when is this thing getting revealed? What are we doing?
I think now that we've gotten through today, basically, I think it's going to be after.
Yes, hasn't gotten through today.
Well,
We haven't got there yet.
well, okay, yeah,
There's still technically time in today to get it announced.
it's true. It's true. There is time. I do think it's going.
refreshing Nintendo's Twitter behind the scenes, by the way.
No, I have been too. I think it's going to be after Zelda now, though. I don't know. I have a feeling it's going to be sometime shortly after that. So the October 1st could make sense to me. But I think they want to get past that. It's a relatively big launch, even though it's a 2D Zelda. It's a big launch for Nintendo. So I feel like we want to get through that. Then after that's good. So it's going to be sometime, I feel like, shortly right after.
October. Okay.
Yeah, I think early October is kind of my thoughts. I don't know if October 1st for sure, but that could make sense. I mean, it doesn't not make sense.
You just want me to do the hot chip on the podcast. That's all it is.
I want you to. I've been wanting you to all day. I was thinking about it in the shower and everything.
Well, jeez. Well, that's a spicy take there. Eric.
Not as spicy as the chip.
Oh,
there we go.
What do we think, Eric, for when they're revealing this thing?
I want it as soon as possible, and I've been saying that for forever. My biggest worry though with this is, we've talked about the PS, what is it, 5 Pro's price point. I wonder if behind the scene, if Nintendo goes, okay, we were thinking 400, but now that this is out at 700, that just gave us an extra $50, and we can go see it's still great compared to this, and it comes out at 450. That would suck.
Feels like a weird price point though.
That would suck.
But you could get it, and nobody's going to complain because it's not 700.
True.
You think
Counterpoint.
about it. We could have a Wii 60 again.
Oh, the Wii 60.
The Wii 60. Remember, you could get a Wii and a 360 for less than a PS3.
Yeah.
That was a huge selling point
Yeah.
during that generation. And if you look at it now, I mean, you could get a Switch 2 if it's 400, which I think it's going to be, and another console. I think
The Series S.
Series S, but I've seen Series X go on sale around the holidays for 400.
I've seen it for 350.
I've seen it for 350 too,
Yeah.
brand new at the store. So you could literally say that you can get both consoles for less than a PS5 Pro physical.
Dude, I can't
The
wait for
physical
those
is $850 out the door.
the PlayStation 5 all digital version to go on sale this holiday for 400. I'm like, what are you talking? That's what it launched at. Like, you raise the price. It's not a deal.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. Nick, what was your counterpoint?
I was just gonna say counterpoint. If they leave the Switch 2 at 400, and it's still it Xbox Series S power in docked mode, and it was PS4 Pro on the go, I think is what they said. If you leave it at 400, then it plays all the same games for cheaper than the Series X. Because I'm assuming you can play all the games that you can play on the Series X on the Series S. So if you come in cheaper than that, you're playing all the same games for slightly cheaper, and you can take them on the go, which would be a massive blow to Sony and Microsoft, which, I mean, Microsoft is kind of
Doing
they're on their
own
last
thing.
legs
They're-
in the
they're
console
teetering.
space anyway. They're heading out.
Yeah, I totally.
I think
agree.
so,
That was
too.
that was just like, it wouldn't surprise me if all of a sudden Nintendo behind the scenes is like, ooh, they way overpriced this. Let's see if we can squeeze out just a tiny bit. I'm not saying it will happen, but that would be kind of shitty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nintendo does weird stuff, so
Yeah.
you know.
So for obviously for the reveal thing, I've been on Team September for a long time, and I have a hot chip challenge bet on it. So if you guys thought I was because it hasn't been revealed yet this week, it might not be revealed this week, that I was getting off, you're wrong. We're sticking with my prediction. It's being revealed this month. Look, here's the way I look at it. Here's the way I look at it. Right? I don't have any logical reason to think it besides for two things and two things only. One, Nintendo moved everything from September to August. Why? I have no idea, actually. I don't know why they did it. Beats the hell out of me. Could be anyone's guess on why they did it. But they moved all these directs and everything to August. I don't think they did that to announce the Mario Kart 8 U Deluxe OLED.
Bundle. I was going to ask for her to talk about that.
A
anytime.
Wonder OLED.
I don't think they moved everything for that. I don't think they moved everything for a Australian Wonder bundle. Look, they do holiday bundles every year. I don't think anything was moved because of a holiday bundle. So
There's going to be holiday bundles next year.
yeah,
Every year
yeah, there will be. So
from now until eternity.
So one, there's that, right? That has been one of my main reasons that I even did the hot chip bet for this month was that there's been no specific insider that has been like, oh, it's happening this month. There was always, it might happen, but it might be October. Okay, fine. You think it's October? There's plenty of people that are still Team 2025, and that's fine because Nintendo said it will have an announcement related to the Nintendo Switch successor by the end of the current fiscal year. So they didn't say March, but March is the end of the current fiscal year, March 31st. So it could be, they could say nothing until January, February, March, right? They could wait. But also this, remember how I said there was no insider that said anything? Well, if you believe this Ryan from the Bronx person is Midori, I have clarified something with him privately about something he responded to another person, Bill Kun, saying, do you think, before Bill Kun revealed that he knew about bundles, Bill Kun was trolling people. Do you really think Nintendo is going to reveal Switch this month? And he responded and said, really? Well, I talked to him today, and he said, yeah, no, Switch 2 is being revealed this month. Do not go off anything Nintendo has done previously to predict what day or what time they're dropping this. Don't look at what they did with Switch. Don't look at anything. I'm like, okay. And I left it at that because, I was going to ask, oh, come on. If you're going to be like this, the day, right? By the way, this is assuming the person knows anything. The day then. But I didn't want to go there because you know what? I want to keep my hopium at maximum and think, you know what? Maybe Nintendo is just going to do that little thing. Remember I was saying, oh, the first week of October, right? A lot of people think it might happen in the first week of October. Well, that first week of October technically begins on a Tuesday because Monday is the 30th of September. Reveal it on the 30th of September. I got to give myself hope.
You're really trying to thread the needle with that, huh?
Threading the needle. I'm going off a person that I don't even know if they are who they say they are. They did have a couple leaks that were legitimate leaks, but
Yo, I just got hit by a truck when you said Midoriya. I'm like, I did not expect to be like coming into the podcast and hear Midoriya. I'm like, trying to get away.
That is that's my trump card, and I don't even know if it's even legit. But this person, Ryan from the Bronx, if you guys know that they've been portraying themselves as being Midori, that's what they said. We'll see. Pretty much, this person's about to confirm to me if they really are Midori, because if it actually gets revealed and they're the only insider saying it. Another fun note, and I'm going to throw this out there. Nate the Hate has a podcast dropping on Friday. Okay, you guys don't know who Nate the Hate is, well-known Nintendo insider. He said on the last show that he wouldn't do another show about Switch 2 until it was really close to being revealed. And for some reason, he's dropping a show on Friday.
Yeah.
Does that mean next week? For some odd reason, they're revealing it during the Echoes of Wisdom week. Why? Maybe.
It is definitely possible.
I think it makes sense.
I think it might boost sales of Echoes because of backwards compatibility being revealed.
Yeah, that's a huge point too that we've talked about so much on this podcast is the backwards compatibility, which is why I think they can announce it this year. I think we all think they can because it's not going to hurt the sales. If anything, it's going to increase the software sales, and we all know that that's how you make money. You don't make money on the hardware. You make money on the software. So if people buy more software because Switch 2 is announced, that's a win-win situation all day.
How dare you? They're dropping
Wait, that's you? I was like, wait, whose kid is speaking?
That's what I was thinking for a second.
Like,
Switch Lite.
Yeah, Nate, I thought that was your kid.
You're barely understandable.
Oh my god.
They're dropping a Zelda
That's
Switch
hilarious.
Lite. That's the counter argument everyone brings up is they're dropping the Zelda Switch Lite next week.
Yeah. So what? Yeah.
they
People are
have a
gonna buy
whole
it.
warehouse of Switch Lights that they had to get rid of. So it's like, all right, coat of paint, easy. Zelda people buy anything.
You know, I will say one thing before we move on to the next topic, and it's that, you know, we have to remember too that today wasn't the only day that rumors hit. I mean, we do have to factor in that there was reports yesterday of all these developers that were invited to Nintendo. I saw the CEO of Limited Run Games. I follow him on Twitter. He's posted in front of the Nintendo of America sign.
I was there just
saying
a
he had a
weeks ago.
great
Maybe
day
I've
there.
got some inside information.
Well, I have a picture out front of there too, but he said he was invited there. That he had a
Mhm.
great
Yeah, I
time.
was
That
invited.
that he spoke with Howard Lincoln. Was it
Yep.
for 2
Yeah.
hours?
Yeah.
Howard
2
Lincoln
hours.
no
The dude's
longer
a
affiliated with
Nintendo
Nintendo, though.
Yeah, so they were there for a long time. If he was there for 2 hours just talking to one person, I think they were there for a pretty long time. And clearly they were shown the Switch too. I mean, it has to.
Yeah. Oh,
Be.
100%.
So they need to announce this soon.
There's also so that story obviously began with like Liam Robertson put out there that a bunch of people had gone to Nintendo of America's HQ on Monday. But RGT85 actually had something to add to the story. He knows personally certain indie developers that have been actually going to Nintendo of America HQ over the last 2 weeks. So not just Monday. Like it's been a couple of weeks.
Dang.
They've been trickling in certain indie devs. Why would you be bringing people to your headquarters? What is something you can't just talk to them about over a Zoom call? Oh, maybe something they need to go hands-on with.
Uh-huh.
I believe it 100%.
Yeah.
Because indie devs wouldn't have dev kits right now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to have dev kits till after it's revealed.
And that's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point. I will say that I still believe September. I'm more confident in September than I am in October. I think if it goes to October, it would be the beginning, but I still feel like, hey, we got 12 days.
Let's go.
And like I woke up this morning, I get up every morning at 4. Right when I woke up, I checked Twitter, and literally it said 2 minutes ago. And what was posted was those pictures of the Switch 2 this morning. So every morning, I'm like waking up and checking Twitter to see if anything broke while I was sleeping.
Yeah,
Because that's when it's probably going to happen.
I do the same now.
Yeah, it's fun, man.
So this whole week I've left my phone. I usually have it on Do Not Disturb when I'm sleeping. No, I've left it on, and I'm just waiting. But the problem is when I do that, I get like 7,000 notifications off Twitter, and I'm just like, oh my god, every single little I'm like, oh, is this it? No, shit. It's just people liking or commenting. I gotta mute my whole thread, like every tweet I made today for me to even sleep tonight. So
Hold on, before we move on, I figured out Nintendo's master plan. So remember how I said they might charge $450 for it, and then we're wondering why it might come out, Zelda week. I got it. They're bringing it out at $450, but if you purchase Echoes, you get $50 off.
Okay.
jeez,
Ingenious. It's perfect.
it's perfect. It's like a free game, right?
Jesus, can you imagine how many copies of the game they would sell? They're not going to do that. That doesn't make any sense. But imagine how many copies of the game
It's
they would
gonna
sell.
have like Wii Sports level.
They would probably sell 40 million copies of that game, which is just like that'd be insane.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah,